co-host, T-Rex in the building.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling
check
good. We checking in. I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I've been waiting anxiously for this.
Anxiously?
Yeah, I've been waiting anxiously to talk about.
In Army Green?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I just want to talk about what we're going to talk about. So I'll let you bring it in.
Well, shit, let's do it then.
Okay, yeah, and then people will know why I've been so anxious.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
well, as you guys see, you know, Army Green. We in military green today. And that's for a purpose, because we're going to talk about a military subject. Don't go anywhere. Today we're going to talk about PTSD. A lot of people talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndromes, but you rarely hear it from veterans. You've got two veterans here, retired Marine captain, enlisted and officer, and
Soldier.
former Army soldier.
Yes, sir.
Both of which we've been in the war theater. And T-Rex in particular has been on the front line. We talking about bullets flying. So we're going to bring PTSD, the conversation around PTSD, up close and personal. But first, let's put it in context. The month of September was a bloody month. We had more mass shootings than there are days in the month. At least two of those mass shootings were committed by Marine veterans. September 28th and 27th, we had Southport, North Carolina. We had the guy on the boat shoot into a waterfront establishment and kill people. And then in Michigan, Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, we had the guy attack the Mormon church, shoot people in the church, including kids, and then burn the church down. Both of these were veterans. And the news has tied their actions to PTSD. Don't go anywhere, because we're about to set the record straight on that right now. Were those mass shootings related to PTSD? T-Rex, let's talk about it, man.
All right. Let me just give a rundown. I don't say in my professional PTSD, my experience with PTSD.
Okay.
You're talking about a veteran that was in field artillery / infantry, because in artillery you have to have infantry work. I'm qualified on the Beretta. I'm qualified on the M16. I was qualified with the M60 before they decommissioned it. I'm qualified on the Mark 19. I'm qualified on the 50 cal. And then with artillery, I'm 13 Mike. I'm qualified to fire rockets and missiles.
Okay.
So,
and you've done most of that in a war scenario.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So, any of y'all want to know what that is? Ask any veteran. But I have to speak about that. I went to Iraq in 2003 under the George Bush administration, and I was in the OIF war, and I was over there for a year and a half.
Okay.
Did I come home? I could have came home from R&R, where they put your
R&R, rest and relaxation.
Yeah, you can come back to the States. But you drop them in the Cavalier. And my name kept coming up. And when your name come up, if you don't want it, you can give it to somebody. I passed up 2 times. And both times that my name came up, it came up around Thanksgiving and Christmas.
And you passed those up.
And I passed those up.
How long were you in war theater?
A year and 18 months.
A year and 18 months. That's a long time. I was in theater 6 months. And then prior to that, a long time ago, I deployed. And it wasn't a war, but it was 6 months again. 18 months consecutively.
Yes, straight.
Let's get to it.
All right.
Were you diagnosed with PTSD after that experience?
Yes, and that's why I let people know. Yeah, I got out the military in 2005. Went in 99, got out in 2005. I didn't even know I had PTSD until 2010.
Okay.
And when I didn't even know what it was. And my godmom that works at the DCVA, when she saw me, she said, "You might have PTSD." And when I went through the treatment, they said that I had it. So then I had to go to a hospital in Perryville. And I'm saying all this in detail so people know he ain't lying. I went to an inpatient in Perryville. It's right outside of Aberdeen testing grounds.
Okay.
In Aberdeen, right on the other side of the bridge from Baltimore. Stayed there for a month and a half. And then I had to go through exposure therapy where they go more in depth with PTSD, and I had to stay there for 30 days. So altogether, for me to get treated and diagnosed for it, I was 2 months and a half inpatient.
Okay, so you went inpatient, 2
Yes.
months plus inpatients
Yeah.
for an official PTSD diagnosis, 18 months in the war theater where you were actually in frontline combat. I know you have a lot of experience, one, being diagnosed with PTSD and then gaining an awareness of what PTSD is. For the audience here, as a war, frontline war vet, describe to the audience what PTSD is. And then we're going to talk about if what these two veterans did in these mass shootings is related to PTSD. So let's get a clear definition.
All right, clear definition of PTSD is hypervigilant.
Okay.
You have anxiety problems.
Okay.
It's like the Drake song. You go to 0 to 100 real quick. You taking something as a threat. Like, instance, I don't like being around a bunch of people. Every blue moon I do it, but when I am, I'm paying attention to everything. Because for one, when you see what a man can do and harm people, and being traumatized by that, you see the nature that what anybody can do.
Right.
But it has to be a threat for you to feel that.
Sure.
Okay. I have to say that specifically. You hypervigilant. You're paying attention if somebody wearing bulky clothes, why they keep touching their hands, why are they so fidgety. You're paying attention to all that because when you've been in a heightened, stressful situation, you have to pay attention to body language. If something bulging on them, are they touching? So you're always aware. So your guard is never down. And PTSD, when you in a war environment and you train for that, you don't willy-nilly with it. It's not like fighting. Fighters fight to score points.
Sure.
Self-defense is to take the person out.
Sure.
It's quick, fast, and hurry. So even on the civilian side, we still have that mindset. It's no protocol. It's just boom.
Let's bring it home for people because a lot of people, because of the headlines that have gone out, linking these two military veterans who did mass shootings, they're linking that to PTSD. To the unsuspecting person, the civilian, who has an outside view of military experience, war experience, and PTSD. Let's talk about that link between mass shooter behavior and PTSD. In your experience, do you feel that those two mass shootings were a result of a PTSD condition that these two veterans had?
Absolutely not.
Let's talk about why not.
All right. For you to attack unarmed people, that's not PTSD. You're attacking a threat. These guys that did this was not attacking people that was a threat. They civilians.
Facts.
What they're attacking is something that was already in them before they joined the military.
Okay.
They might have been raised a certain way, abused a certain way, have mental health issues that didn't know they had them. Then they cover up the shit with the military. That's why I'm so excited to talk about this. Let me calm down because I don't want to lose people because I get amped. That's why they call me T-Rex. But yeah, and I'm getting tired of incidents before these two guys, incidents during these two guys, and incidents afterwards. Even the guy that did God rest his soul, whatever, Charlie Kirk. Yeah. That assassin had some type of, I think,
mental health disorder.
But he had some type of training.
Right.
So that's why I'm in the defense for veterans that suffering from PTSD, and I'm in defense for veterans where the civilians don't have to be afraid of us. Just because a man has PTSD, what them guys did is not PTSD. That's a mental health issue. Okay. The military doesn't train you to. I'll let you go ahead.
Got you.
Yeah.
So let me put a bow on this part because we've established that PTSD is a form of hypervigilance. It's a person who's been exposed or overexposed to violence. seen violence up close and personal, maybe have been had violent acts happen to them, have come close to death, right? And therefore, when they're removed from the war environment, bring a hyper vigilant mentality to where they're overly assessing for threats,
but they overreact.
But they're not
when it's a threat.
When it's a threat,
yes.
So they're hyper vigilant in terms of assessing the environment for threats, right?
Yes.
There's a difference between hypervigilance is kind of a hyper defensiveness, right? Because you're on a heightened state of awareness, alert, better word, in your environment to make sure that there are no threats.
Yes.
Right? So we have to draw a line between that and between what these two veterans did, where they attacked unsuspecting people.
Yes, that's not
right?
PTSD.
We got to make sure so that this is not rooted in PTSD, this mass shooting that these two guys did on the Mormon church and in North Carolina. No. These guys attacked soft targets, right? That was deliberate planning, and that's really cowardice. That's not militant at all. You're attacking people who are not ready, who are not posing a threat, who are unsuspecting. So we have to divorce PTSD and military veterans who've been through PTSD from what these guys have done, because that is what they are displaying is a mental health disorder, and two, some sort of ideology that's motivating their violence. So I think you were about to go into how the military doesn't train people to react the way they did. Let's talk about that.
We wasn't trained to attack. I'll say this: when I was in Iraq and when their government kind of got overran and everything, we was helping them become more reestablish everything.
Right.
So it was certain things that we couldn't do, even though we may have seen a threat or whatever, because we was allowing them to reestablish their civilization. So weapons, we couldn't do nothing unless it looked like they was going to threaten us.
Yeah. Let's be specific and talk about like the guidelines that govern how we use force, right? Because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like over there they have holidays, and some of them guys do Ramadan, they wear their mask and they have their weapons or whatever. And they say this might make y'all feel uncomfortable. Long as they don't look like a threat or point their weapon, don't do nothing. I forgot the words that they told us to say to them. It's like two words, like it was like stop, and it was another word in Iraq. But we always had an interpreter with us.
Gotcha.
So, and then you have the Geneva Convention and you have the row. It's so detailed with the military. It's certain weapons that you do not supposed to shoot a human being with, because it's called manslaughter. And that's what I have learned in infantry and artillery. It's certain weapons that's used for light armor, and then there's certain weapons used for heavy armor,
right.
And then there's certain weapons you use on civilians. If you do anything outside of that, you can go to prison in the military.
Sure.
So I have to speak on this because I don't want civilians to start attacking veterans. I don't want the police force start attacking veterans, right, because you got this PTSD shit misconstrued.
Sure.
Just like the veterans that came back from Vietnam. They was calling them baby killers.
Right.
And they was attacking them. I'm doing this. We went to go protect this country, but then we feel unsafe in this country, right, because we dealing with an issue for protecting this country, but then you using what we do over there, over here, and then you blaming it on the military. No, you was already messed up in the head before you went into the military.
Yeah, because and again, we're drawing the distinction between PTSD
and
mental health disorders and ideology of violence. Now, you can have people who come out of the military, maybe who are hypervigilant, who also have a mental health disorder, who may crash out, but it's not the hypervigilance. Vigilance. It's the mental disorder and the ideology of violence that we see, quite frankly, in white society. That's why you see a lot of young white males crashing out and doing these mass shootings. I got some thoughts here as we talk about it. And one, just to back up what you're saying, when I was becoming an officer, when I was a sergeant, and I was going into the officer program to become a lieutenant and start on the officer track. I had to go through an interview, a panel of officers, and they asked me some questions, and they kept putting me in war scenarios.
Right.
You're leading your troops, you're doing this and that, and you start receiving fire. What do you do? And they kept putting me in these scenarios, and the way I answered the question was never shoot first. I was always telling them how I would organize my men in a defensive posture to be able to assess where the threat was coming from before we fired.
Exactly.
And I did, and I answered all the questions like that. And I remember the major was like, "You seem reluctant to pull the trigger." And I said, "No, sir, I'm not." I said, if you're gonna pull the trigger, you got to do it responsibly. You gotta assess the threat. You got to assess where the threat is coming from before you use deadly force. So I say that to say that military training teaches you an escalation of force, right? You're not shooting soft targets. When you got somebody who's running into a church, shooting indiscriminately, hitting kids, this is not PTSD, that's mental disorder. But I feel like in white society, there seems to be maybe a combination of some kind of hypervigilance and an ideology of violence that is pushing this behavior. And I'm gonna change the direction on you, but let's talk about this because police. Because when you were talking about how hypervigilance, you're looking at certain things. You mentioned like if your shirt is bulky, you're fidgety,
Body
you're
language,
nervous,
reading
you're
eyes. Yeah.
reading your body language and stuff like that is a way that you've learned to kind of pare down where a threat is at. It made me think about police when they deal with us, and how everything we do, they're reading our body language and interpreting that as a threat. Would you say that police have a form of PTSD and maybe an ideology of violence of some sort? Because it's almost like they're projecting a threat posture, a threat movements on us. So what would you say about PTSD or kind of like a ideology of violence mindset with police, how they use violence?
Well, with police is a real fine line between military and police. But with the police, a lot of my experience with police that have been that transition from the military to the police force, they very relaxed and calm.
Because they got the training and all
that. They got the
stuff.
training. Even if I was a police officer, I would be very calm until I see certain things. Then I would go 0 to 100. The police now, I think it's more so like what these guys are doing. It's more of a mental health thing. I don't even think it's PTSD unless they've been in gunfights or where they've been in situations where their life was threatened. Then I can see them do that. But most of the police officers, I would say that have done or use abusive force, they really ain't been through nothing.
Sure.
That's more so from a mental health standpoint.
Sure.
Something that they was raised in, taught. Now that they got a weapon and they got some law behind them, now they're abusing that authority. But that's from a mental health standpoint.
Yep.
It's very few police officers, this is guys on the truth, it's very few police officers that's been in a threat to where their life could have been taken, or they've been in a physical encounter. It's not a lot of police officers that have been through it to where all the police officers seem like they all do it just for fun or just for sport. And what I wanted to add on top of that, when I was in the military, most of the people that was exciting to kill people had already killed people, killed things. Like, you got a lot of guys that when they came into the military, they was known for hunting. Because when we would go to the range, they was good at shooting the 250 meter target and everything, and the 300 meter target kept hitting it. And then when they would talk, like, man, they would get experts shooting 40 out of 40 or 39 out of 40. That's expert in the Army. And then come to find out they used to do a lot of hunting. Right. And then when I would go to Iraq, they excited because now they got a license to kill. Sure. So that's what I'm saying. It has to be something. These people that's doing it, they already took life. Now that probably might have been a human life, but they done had a experience of drawing blood, seeing blood, and seeing life leave a body and seeing something die.
And becoming comfortable with that.
They become comfortable with it. The military don't teach you that.
Right.
They don't ingrain you to harm innocent people. The only thing that I see outside of the military, outside of the police service, where you can harm something without no repercussions is when you go hunting.
I agree, and I think that's again, the military doesn't train you to kill innocent people. Now, if you want to peel back the political layers of how if you want to peel back the political layers of how military force is used, that's a different story. But the guys who are actually on the field pulling the trigger aren't in that mindset. They're following orders.
Yes.
They're taught what the threat is, how to assess that. So the basic teaching, the basic instructions is for you to orient your violence towards a threat, right?
Yes.
Which is not what these guys are doing. But you mentioned that a lot of people, guys getting excited about the idea of violence and killing. I saw a lot of that when I was in the Marines. I would see, and quite frankly, they were almost always white. And when it was time to go to deployment, these guys were excited. I'm ready to deploy. I'm ready to deploy. I want to stay. One, because you get tax-free money there, so that was one of the reasons. But you could see some guys, they were excited, and they would say this. They were ready to shoot that gun.
Yeah.
They were ready to bust that gun.
Yeah.
And where does that mindset come from? When we see the Marine veteran who attacked the Mormon church in Michigan, they showed a picture of him in his camouflage hunting gear with his daughter also in camouflage hunting gear. And this is common, right? Even the guy in York, PA, who killed 3 police, injured 2.
They said he was in camouflage.
He was in a cornfield in camouflage, hunting. So there's this culture of violence. And I personally don't have anything against hunting, but it's these people who are doing it and who are normalizing violence and then carrying this over on the civilians and innocent targets. That's the problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the only thing not on my watch, and a lot of veterans, a lot of guys in the military, I'm speaking for all of them because I don't want them to start looking at us as a threat.
Facts.
When men say I serve my country, they say it with pride. It's almost getting point to where if this keep happening in this military, you probably scared to say you serve your country. If we keep allowing this talk to keep sliding, and if we and I'm pretty sure the military gonna probably let the politicians know, whoever know, like, hey, we need to get a wrap on this because it's making the military look bad. Because we are what make America great.
We gonna talk.
They talk about making America great again. Reason why America is great because of the military. Right. The reason why America is still great is because of the military. And the reason why America will stay great in the future is because of the military. And the way they're staying in the military with these mass shootings, that's not cool. That's why we having this conversation. What these guys do don't have nothing to do with military or PTSD coming out of the military. That shit was already, they was already messed up in the head.
Facts. And that's a culture. It's a culture of violence. It's an ideology of violence. It's a mental health disorder. And today,
backed by religion too.
Today in this conversation, we are drawing a bold line between mental health disorders, malicious mindsets, and military training, right? There's a difference. When you take mental health disorders and malicious mindsets and pair it with any type of weapon expertise or training, you're gonna get a bad result.
Right.
But the root cause is not the military training.
No.
It is not the PTSD.
No.
It is not the hypervigilance.
It was something
it's the mental disorder.
Yeah.
It's how you've been raised to look at people. It's the ideology you've been raised with. Nothing else will make you go and hit soft targets like that. Shoot up a church, kill cops, go and shoot people who are on a waterfront eating dinner with their families. No, that's ideology. No. That's an ideology of violence. And we did an episode on that, by the way, a few months ago. As we close out, let's transition into this because you were harping on the military. Secretary of War, formerly Secretary of Defense, Pete Hesgeth, went to Quantico, Virginia, where I retired, and met with all the generals across all the services.
Right.
And he gave them a speech to reinvigorate the warrior ethos, the warrior mindset into the military leadership. Did you watch that?
I watched some of it.
Okay.
From the news.
Yeah, I don't want to jump on it too heavy, but I was looking at it this morning, and there seems to be a war within a war. You know, we talked about the war on woke, and I got it in my book. It's a section called "The War on Woke," the woke era, and the war on woke. And when I wrote that, I didn't know it would be this big, because you've literally got the Secretary of Defense, now the Secretary of War, talking about wokeness.
Even the old boy that came from Israel, he said it in his press conference. He mentioned the word woke.
Yeah.
I forgot whatever the dude that talked to the president,
Yes.
whatever his name, for that Gaza stuff. He was talking about the woke era, and he said the number one place to get all your information, he said go to TikTok. What he know about TikTok, and he in Israel?
Right.
You dig what I'm saying?
So there's this war on woke to the point that the Secretary of War is actually prepping the military to go against woke.
It's in their language.
But the thing is, the way they define woke is not what woke actually is. You know, for us, for black people, woke is historical awareness, social awareness, self-awareness. It's really connecting with your identity, knowing who you are. It's the rise of black consciousness. That's what it is. What politicians have attached to woke is LGBT, transgenderism, gender fluidity, confusing kids, and perverting family structures. So they use that. They use that appendage that they put on what we define as woke as a reason to attack all of it. Right? So when you listen to the Secretary of War talk about that, he was like, you know, where all this confusion and DEI stuff, he had buzzwords. One, woke means black. Two, he was talking about, he said the military is going back to being colorblind, right? We're not putting people in there because they're the first to do it. Talking about black. Right, because it's black people that's always saying, oh, the first whatever general, the first this, the first that. So he said it's not about who's first, the first to do it. It's about who's the best. We're going away from this DEI stuff and putting people in places because of their race. We're putting them there because they're the best to do it. And I'm like, that's all dog whistles against black folks. You know what I'm saying? And he's really pumping this in the military. And one thing I learned when I was in is that they say colorblind, but it's not culture blind. They elevate, you can be black and more qualified, but if you're not culturally oriented the way they want you to be, they'll take a lesser white guy who's competent but more culturally oriented and elevate him. So they say colorblind, but it's not true because it's not culture blind. And that's how they push that bias. And really what they're trying to do is just push a certain mindset, reinvigorate a certain mindset, because they don't want the people in the highest positions, generals, to have a certain mental orientation. It ain't got nothing to do with LGBTQ. It's got everything to do with a white supremacist ideology, right? And they want to make sure that folks who have that ideology are the ones who are being elevated. Right. And that's what I got to say about that.
Well, for one, to piggyback on everything you said, the military is not colorblind, it's culture colorblind. I mean, all you got to do is when you look at the generals, see how many black generals there compared to the white generals. So it has always been colorblind. It has always been white supremacist based. Right. Look at your politicians. It's a sprinkle of black people compared to white people.
And even that's too many.
So they're contradicting themselves.
Right.
Meaning what you say is not what we see. Just that fucking simple. You can preach all your rhetoric, you can say all that, but the eyes don't lie.
Yeah.
And like my white psychologists say, they see with their minds, not their eyes.
Sure.
And that's a true statement.
That's facts.
That's why they always see ghosts and
That's
spirits
facts.
and shit. They don't see with their eyes. They see with their mind.
And that's why they got.
And whatever they see with their mind, they will enforce you through fear, manipulation to saying the same color that they see. That's how strong it is, because it's in the mind. We are known
to deal with reality.
Reality,
Yeah.
what we see. Okay, yeah, you say that, but I'm still confused. What you saying is not matching what I'm seeing.
Right. That's why.
That's what they want you to be under, that illusion.
And that's why it's a war on woke, because
Yeah.
woke is a mindset.
Yes.
And they're seeing with their mind. And when they see somebody who's quote unquote woke, that's not a part of this culture.
Yeah.
And that's what they're attacking.
And that's why they're attacking the schools. That's why they was putting I think you sent me that thing. They already putting the Charlie Kirk books in the school and stuff like that.
Get into that.
They starting early, but back to the military. A lot of them feel uncomfortable by what he said. And the reason why they're coming so hard, because this woke thing is being pushed so hard, is making their system seem non-avoid, because people are giving thought to this woke stuff.
That's facts.
They're trying to slow down using common sense. They trying to slow down you taking what you seeing and hearing and how you say, make it make sense.
And they don't want you bringing your own interpretation to it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that they're afraid of. People are starting to take what you say and say, hold on, now let me go back and do this.
Yeah. And this speech is not
We're
about...
making it make sense.
Yes.
That's what they're afraid of. That's why they're afraid of woke.
Yeah, exactly. And this speech that he gave is not really about increasing military strength and making it more of a focus on war. It's really about washing out wokeness. Yeah. That is really what all of that is about. Mm-hmm. They're afraid that the woke mentality, the black conscious mentality, which looks at things and says, well, why are we doing this? This is not actually morally correct. Mm-hmm. They want to wash that out, and they want blind obedience, to be honest with you, because one thing he said, he talked about a fighting force, this and that, and he said apolitical. Mm-hmm. Apolitical, that means politically neutral, which is what a soldier is supposed to be, politically neutral, but he wants somebody who he can say, go do this to them, for and you not question it, you not think about it. He wants you to divorce yourself from your political orientation, which is what the military is supposed to be. But now people have to make a choice. They have to make a political choice before they go into the military.
Yeah, all it is, what they're doing is that they are trying to get ahead of this woke thing. They're going back. They're going back to the way they established things before.
Fact.
They just doing it in a slick, subliminal way.
Trying to make it
people
seem...
feeling uncomfortable. People are not as ignorant. That's just not black, white people. And the conversations what they used to do back in the day was easy to be pushed because people didn't know no better.
Yeah, people didn't
now
know.
People are feeling uncomfortable. I guarantee you when he was talking, white generals, black generals, Hispanic generals, whoever, all felt uncomfortable what he was saying. They know it. They can hear the hate. They can hear.
But they can't do shit about it though.
Exactly. But they can hear it. Back in the day, they was all excited. But now it's like,
Yeah, because everybody's got more of a political conscience now because of social media, and you're just getting more exposure to more perspectives.
Yes.
Right? You're not getting the one mainstream media perspective.
Yeah.
You getting perspective from grassroots, from mainstream, but then you're doing what you said. You're making it make sense. You're using conversation. You're trusting your own observations.
Yeah.
And he's trying to wash that out. That's what that whole thing was about. It ain't had nothing to do with getting more military ready, getting more
that's
tanks,
what I was
more
waiting
weapons.
to hear. Yeah.
No, this had everything about making a mental adjustment for the military. We got the washout woke. So the war on woke is alive and well, and we're going to talk more about it in the next episode. Go ahead.
Oh, and then he was also talking about bringing that military training to American soil.
Yeah.
But I think that's for the next episode.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, let's close this one out. PTSD, what it is, what it ain't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Give your final thoughts on this or whatever you was hoping.
I just reiterate that PTSD, what's going on, does not have nothing to do with PTSD with these two guys.
Right.
This is a mental health issue.
Sure.
PTSD and the military don't teach you what you learn in the military to come on American soil.
Facts.
Or any soil.
Facts.
And attack unarmed people.
Right.
That's not the military.
Right.
That's something that person already had.
Facts.
Before they went into the military. Because even in the military, you don't develop that from military. You have already had that.
Right.
And for you to have that, either through childhood, through politics, through religion, or through whatever gang they want to call their gangs in them, I would say in them rural areas.
Right.
Because these guys, all the incidents done happen in rural areas. And all these guys that's doing this probably come from rural areas.
Sure.
They're not doing it in the cities. They're doing it in rural areas. Places where they, keyword, are familiar with the terrain,
right,
the environment. I close with that.
All right. PTSD. You heard it from two veterans. You know what it is, post-traumatic stress disorder. You know what it ain't. What it ain't is this undisciplined, mentally ill mass shootings that you see happening. Even if they're happening by veterans, look at the profile of the veterans. Let's not factor that out. You know, white rural Americans, young white men, certain ideology, certain mindset, who take military training and abuse it, who show a lack of discipline.
And then blame it on the military.
Right. Who attack soft targets. Now, they're not blaming it, but the media is attaching this. But we got to detach it, and we got to give you a personal perspective. We let T-Rex share, and you can look at the front of this video, his PTSD diagnosis experience. He's been through years of therapy. He's got a keen sense of awareness of what that is and what it's not. And what those two veterans did is certainly not PTSD. That's mental illness. That's an ideology of violence that's deeply embedded in white society that needs to be diagnosed and dealt with. But we're going to go and close this one out. We hope y'all enjoy it. Watch the whole thing. It's a lot to get into. Leave your comments. We appreciate your viewership. As we always say, make sure you don't watch and hide. Like and subscribe. Till next time, we out.
Peace.
Peace.